What's up, everybody? Spare with a Gun here from Sleepless Night Studios, and I am back from the sabbatical that you guys apparently didn't know I was on, or at least some of you didn't know. So, anyways, so I actually recorded this already once, and I thought I had my sound effects squared away. I did not. The sound ended up being terrible, and so I'm redoing it. Hopefully a little bit shorter, because I ended up talking for like 40 minutes, and I really wanted a 10-15 minute announcement video, but you guys know me, I tend to ramble. So, I'm going to do the too long didn't read version first, instead of doing it last, like I did last time in the video you guys didn't see. So, basically, for those of you that may not have been aware, if you missed my last 2 episodes, was where I told everybody about it. So if you missed that, my computer died. Or was dying? It's close enough. Anyways, it was on death's door, essentially, whether it be from motherboard, RAM, or hard drive failure. I'm not really sure, but essentially this thing was getting really old and I was having to patchwork it together with duct tape and hopes and prayers kind of thing. So it just seemed like time, and I actually had... go figure. I actually had the funds available at the moment. I hadn't been using a lot, so I had been kind of saving up. Accidentally saving up, as it were. But I ended up having the funds to replace it with an all-new one. And so it was I was gone that whole time because I couldn't record with a dead computer, so it was the time that it took me to order, assemble, and build, and set up, and blah, 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 of my new PC, and now I'm actually up and running to a recordable level. I still haven't, like, installed all of my programs and things and stuff, but I've installed, like, the 3 main games I was using for recording, and recording software and editing software, stuff like that, so I'm still working on it. Kind of, at this point, it's kind of one of those, like, as I run across something, I'm installing something new. And in case you're wondering why I'm not doing my typical logo talk to you audio, faceless audio video, faceless audio video, try and figure that one out. So, in case you were wondering why I'm doing that, not doing that, and I'm doing this in Space Engineers, it's a 2 birds, 1 stone situation. In that I am trying to utilize a new recording pipeline and a new system, a new software, etc. and so on. And so I thought this would give me a good way to make an announcement video while also working out some setting things and letting you guys hear my audio, game sound, stuff like that. For some reason, Space Engineer seems to be a lot quieter than before. I even, like, went into the game settings under audio, and I turned the sound effects up all the way. It was, like, back over here. And I turned it up all the way because it was just really quiet. So, those kinds of things, I'm not sure if it's something with the new software. I'm not sure if it's a setting that I've yet to change in my sound on my system. I don't know. So, everything is sounding pretty okay on my end when I'm editing and stuff like that at this point, but I could use your guys' input as to what it sounds like on your end with your, you know, does it sound okay on your headphones, your speakers, whatever, or because sometimes when it's like, when you have certain things set a certain way on your end, it always sounds okay, but that doesn't mean that it sounds the same way on someone else's. Now, that's not to say if you crank your audio all the way up, it's not going to be too loud or something. You guys know what I mean. Just if anything sounds drastically different, you know, it's like the game is super quiet, my audio is really loud, vice versa, the game's really loud, the audio is super quiet, whatever. Normally, I can catch that stuff in editing and stuff like that. Usually, it's like I said, I recorded a 40-minute video thinking my settings were right and they weren't, and I scrapped the whole thing. So usually I can hear it, but just in case I miss something or it sounds okay on my end, but it breaks when it goes to YouTube or something like that, just let me know if anything stands out. Also, let me know if it stands out very well, because I have tweaked some things. Not to, again, the too long didn't read version first. So, basically, the schedule shouldn't change. It should still be Elite Dangerous on Tuesdays, Space Engineer Let's Play, which is kind of shifting into build small ship mode, or at least it was when I left. That'll be Thursday, if my memory serves, and then Stationeers on Saturday and Space Engineers Inspiration on Sunday. I think that's my schedule. I haven't been recording in so long, I'm out of the habit, so I don't really remember all that I was doing, but that should be the schedule. So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, that's basically the too long didn't read version. So if that's all you're interested in, and that's what happened, is my computer died, I built a new one, I'm back up and running, so it should pick back up where we left off, probably next week. Like, I'm saying this as of, I'm recording this on Monday, let's get specific, the 26th. So the 27th should be our first Elite episode, and the schedule should resume with that. But by next week, so the week after this one, I should have a lot of the kinks ironed out through everybody's feedback and stuff like that. So we're still kind of in transition at the moment of getting all of the settings tweaked and all that stuff, and I'm getting used to a new software. So let me dive into that for a minute. So I normally use Fraps. I've used it for years. But since I basically had to rebuild my whole system, which, by the way, I should have put this in the too long didn't read version, but one of my viewers, I believe they're a subscriber, not sure, Zazalus Arden, was a literal godsend to me. He helped me out so very much with my build. I can't thank him enough for this, because I really thought I had the whole build your own system thing under control till I actually started doing it, and then I realized how much I really didn't know. And so, yeah, he helped me out a ton between picking out the right parts, telling me why certain parts wouldn't work, why some would be better, some would be cheaper, and do the same thing, etc. and so on. And then once I actually got the parts, then it was like, hey, I put this together, this didn't work, what did I do wrong? Try this, try this, try this, try this, blah, 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 blah. And between all that, literally saved my bacon. But, so yeah, I was even like, dude, I need to do something, Amazon gift card, buy you a Steam game, something. And he was like, no, I just really like your stuff. And I was like, you are an amazing human being. So you're probably going to hear me point that out quite a few times in my videos for a good little bit. Because again, it really, really meant a lot to me that it wasn't even just that I had help, but it was also the fact that I had a help from one of my viewers. It was really, really cool. Really very interesting experience, to be honest. So yeah, with that, I got up and running. My system's better than it's ever been, etc. and so on. It's really nice, actually. I am still a little surprised that I didn't tweak with the settings too much on Space Engineers and stuff. It wasn't like I just grabbed everything and went, let's max everything out, you know, stuff like that. Because, not that I probably couldn't. I just think it's one of those, I can do bigger builds on the same settings. Basically, like, if I leave it the way that it was, I can just do bigger stuff, and it'll impact the frame rate less. If I cranked everything up, I could do probably the same things, but it may not, you know, it would just look better. So I kind of just figured it already looked fine. So just stick with the improved performance overall. Now, some of you might notice the video is a bit smoother when we're moving around here. I'm not trying to give anyone dizzy spells, I'm just showing that it's a little bit more smooth, right? So let me see what it's actually at. So, well, I say it's smoother. It's actually telling me that I'm running about 40. I don't know if I trust this thing, by the way, either, because it'll say, like, the CPU load is, like, 26, and I'll tab out to Task Manager, and it's, like, 15 or something, so I'm not really sure about this little corner indicator thingy here. I don't know how accurate this is. But you can see that we're up into the 40s. So short version is when I switched over to, I'm using OBS at the moment, and that let me do 60 FPS with a higher compression, so the file size is smaller and it renders faster. So I get comparable quality, if not better quality, to Fraps. Overall, because it's all this vicious circle thing. It's like the file size is smaller, so the render time is shorter, so I can afford to turn up the render quality better, so that even though the render time gets longer than it normally was, it would be shorter still than when I was doing stuff with fraps. So the compression and all that kind of stuff changed things to where I can do 60 FPS. Now, Space Engineers itself is not super duper crazy over the top optimized in that regard, so I'm not actually getting 60 FPS, so my videos may not be ultra smooth or whatever, but I was kind of using that as a way to segue into my videos if the game will allow me to, like if I can handle whatever I'm trying to do. The videos should be edited into 60 FPS now, so that would be kind of cool. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that a little bit more. With that, I'm actually going to take a quick pause, not because I really need to, just because I want to check at 10 minutes of recording and make sure all of this is actually as good as I think it is in terms of quality, not to find out 40 minutes from now that it's terrible. Okay, so still probably haven't got everything worked out. That sounded okay. You guys heard it first. But it was a little bit on the loud side for me. I'm having difficulty balancing the game audio, mic audio. Some things, like right now, I'm not doing anything. There's not a lot of sound effects. And then my mic sounds too high. And then there's times where when I'm playing something, there's a lot of sound effects going off, gunfire, all that kind of stuff, then it sounds too quiet. And I'm really trying to balance that. And I've never worked with OBS before, so if this sounds awful, it sounds okay to me, but I'm still not sure I have it quite balanced the way that I want. So that's why I keep coming back to let me know what you guys think, because that will help me out a lot to determine, no, I think it's fine, I think it's okay, blah, 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 or you're too loud, you're too soft, whatever. Because before all this happened, I had everything set. Like, I knew it worked the way that it was. I didn't know that it was the best, I just knew that it worked. And so there was really no incentive to tinker with it or mess with it, kind of don't rock the boat type thing. So when I had to redo my whole system, you had to reinstall everything, had to, you know, do it all over again. I copied most every file I could, or I thought would be useful, but somehow some of my render settings and things got lost on some drive somewhere. And so with that, by the way, this new Horizon thing kind of weirds me out. I don't know if anybody else thinks that or not, but for me, it's very like, there's a gash in the sky where the light starts and stops. I don't know, I just think it's a little weird. Anyway, but so yeah, I'm still balancing everything out, so I would appreciate it if you could kind of bear with me a little bit, and you know, go with that and help me out a little bit until I get kind of settled back in. But I really like the idea of if I could use OBS, because from everything that I'm reading about, it's smoother, it's a higher frame rate. We talked about the file sizes are smaller, the render time is better, and the overall quality, in my opinion, from what my tests have shown, you guys will kind of be the final say, because if it's not better, it's not better. But because I don't know, there's some things like when I go back and played through some of the test footage, sometimes the frame rate wasn't as smooth as it looked like when I was recording it. I don't know if that's because I was doing a bunch of stuff and like VLC, my video player couldn't handle it right. I've had that happen before, where if a file is really got a lot going on in it, sometimes video players will screw up, but when you like watch it on YouTube or something, or it's rendered, it's fine. So I'm not really sure. That's why I'm kind of going ahead. I'm moving forward with it and hoping that it's okay, kind of thing. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. That'll be a big help as far as if there's anything over the top drastically wrong with anything that looks bad, let me know. And I'll probably preface that in the beginning of my episodes for the first few of them, while I still get all the settings ironed out and stuff, is to kind of let me know. So, but yeah, so basically rebuilt the whole thing, changing software, changing rendering settings, changing basically a ton of stuff and trying to improve on what was already there. I did reinstall Fraps and stuff as a backup in case I couldn't get the settings squared away or nobody liked it or whatever. I basically did keep that setting squared away where I could go back to that, and because I know that works. And frankly, my computer's just better now at this point, so render times with Fraps was even improved. I did a 20 or 30 minute video or something at double what my old presets were, so the quality for that was even improved. And I think it came out in like 2 hours or an hour and a half, or no, I think it was 2 hours or something like that. And normally it would have taken 4 or 5 or 3.5 or something like that. So to raise the quality and lower the render time is pretty freaking awesome. So one way or another, we'll be sitting better. The games are gonna run better. The render times will be shorter. The quality will be improved, etc. It's more just finding the settings and things that I want and which software I eventually want to go with. Now, I think that's the big important stuff, because I was really just wanting to announce this. I saw a couple of comments on like, hey, where did you go? You know, why are you MIA? Stuff like that. I posted on the discussion page for YouTube, and I posted on my Sleepless Nights Facebook page, which should have piggybacked over to Twitter. But if you don't look at any of those three, then you wouldn't have seen it. And I couldn't really post a video about it because computer was dead. So, I know a few people knew about it. I mean, obviously, Zazalus knew about it because he commented on my last Elite episode and told me to, you know, let him know if I needed help, which I promptly did, because I did need help. So, yeah, so I was just seeing some comments and stuff that was like, hey, what's going on? And if you already didn't see my Elite Space Engineers stuff and missed those episodes to where you weren't hearing it, then that kind of told me, you know, you weren't probably going to find it anywhere else, because that's kind of what I've been doing lately as Space Engineers and Elite Dangerous and Stationeers. So if it wasn't coming through on one of those, then you weren't going to be able to see an episode until I got back up and running that actually explained it. So I figured I'd just do an announcement thing, and that way it covered everybody. So yeah, that's basically what's been going on. We're back up and running. I'm still trying to get grounded in my new settings, software, etc. and so on, and get squared away, so you know, I get comfortable again with I can just hit record and go, and I don't have to worry about tweaking and setting anything. I did turn my mic down 1 notch on or 1 decibel technically on the second part after that transition piece was in there, just because it sounded a little bit on the high volume side, whatever. And I'm trying to mess with it. I've heard, I originally did it in the sound settings, like I turned my mic up. That was a bad idea. It got really garbled, and it sounded kind of like if you're blowing out a speaker when it starts getting really radio robot-y kind of thing. It sounds really broken. It started doing a lot of that, like it couldn't keep up with the decibel range type of thing. And so then I was looking online and stuff like that for guides, and one place I saw suggested not to turn up the actual microphone volume, but to turn up the gain effect filter in OBS for the microphone track. So that's what I'm playing with now, and it sounds better. It's a lot more improved over what it was. I'm still not really sure I have it where I want it, or if it's balanced right. So I know I've said it before, but just again, you guys' help would be greatly appreciated in that department. But as I said, the schedule should be the same. I don't plan on making any changes. It's not like, hey, I'm coming back and now I'm doing different series and stuff like that. I'm not planning on it, because I'm still trying to heavily get done with some projects. I'm shifting around my schedule behind the camera to optimize my time and make better progress on some of my projects. Recently before the computer crash, I had been doing like a project per day. It was like Dog Squad one day and work on my book another day, stuff like that. And I really just wasn't making the progress I wanted with the time available. I had time available to me, I just wasn't getting done with what I wanted. So I'm changing up my attack strategy, if you will, because it's kind of one of those, if it's not working, then why bother? So I'm going to keep my same recording schedule of Monday and Friday. Upload schedule will be the same for you guys. None of that should change. But I'm hoping that you guys will start seeing more projects finished faster. Because what I'm going to try and do is target a project and work on it until it's completed, and then move to the next one in the priority bucket. So, for example, you could call it a reboot, I guess. Not really, because I didn't change anything, but I got remotivated, let's put it that way, to work on my book more. Basically just because I was kicking myself, because I spent a month without having to record and having to do anything. Like, I was technically, quote-unquote, off work, if you want to put it that way. I couldn't record videos, I couldn't work on website stuff, even if I had, you know, projects for websites. Like, I don't actually really have much work going on there as far as freelance web stuff, but I was going to work on redesigning my YouTube page and stuff like that. And so I couldn't work on that really. I could, my tablet does have apps and stuff that lets you do coding and things, but it's not ideal. So I could, but it wasn't optimal. So in my mind, I couldn't really effectively work on website stuff. I couldn't work on recording episodes. I couldn't work on Dog Squad stuff. So there was a lot of projects that were locked until I got my computer back up and running. My book on my tablet was not one of them. And it kind of frustrated me that I didn't get more done for the month I wasn't doing things. And I was working on my computer stuff, which was... it wasn't too terrible in hindsight, but it had its moments of being pretty stressful. And so if you work on either shopping online or physically trying to assemble the thing and you're running into problems and things, there was a lot of times where I would email Zazalis and, you know, wait to see what he said because I didn't know what to do myself. And so then I was just kind of frustrated and would just go watch a movie or something like that. But I still kind of kicked myself that even though it was, you know, you're one person and you can only handle so much in a day, I was still like, yeah, but you had like a month. You could have found somewhere. So anyways, long story short, I kind of kicked my butt in gear and started working on my book more. And as far as the revisions, rewrite stuff, I've actually gotten through 8 chapters. I'm currently working on 9, and there's a total of 20, so I'm literally almost halfway through the rewrites. The funny part to that is I was up to chapter 3 like before my computer crashed. So the last 5 chapters I did in like a week and a half after my system was assembled, but I wasn't quite up to recording yet in terms of install program settings and stuff like that. So I made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. I was like, well, dude, why haven't I done this before? And I started thinking about it, and it was because I was focused on, if I wasn't tinkering with my computer and installing programs, I was focused on working on the book. So I really think that's just something I need to start doing, is one thing at a time. Planning and organizing is one thing, you know, prioritizing and having different things in a file cabinet kind of thing isn't a bad idea. But as far as like, what are you devoting your attention to? So I'm hoping my book will be done fairly soon, and I say that because I don't want to give a hard date because I don't want to not deliver on that, but essentially what's got to happen, for those of you that are interested, is I need to get the rewrites completely finished, which is, you know, going back through the initial draft and adding or removing details and refining stuff like that. And then I have to work with Caden Red Pearl, who helped. I mean, we basically have co-created this universe. The book itself is set in a different spot than what we've both worked on, so I'm technically writing the book by myself, but we co-developed the world. So there's certain things like terminologies and stuff like that that I need to brainstorm with him on of what we need to change. Because there's certain things like time. For example, hours, minutes, seconds, because this is set on a different world, different culture, that kind of thing. They're not going to use those terms. They'll have their own words for time and distance and things like that. So there's things that I have to go through with him, and but he's been very busy, so it's been hard to get a hold of him. But that's another reason I don't want to set a hard time, is because some of this I don't know when I'll actually be available to get to it. But I need to get through the rewrites. We need to set up the terminologies correctly. And at that point, most of my job on the book is done. At that point, it would be shopping around and finding an editor and contacting a few artists that I've bookmarked that I like their work and I wanted to see what they would do for a book cover, stuff like that. And then once the editing and the book cover and stuff's done, then it's about just finalizing everything and putting it all together, and then it goes up on Amazon. So I'm cautiously saying a few more months. and I say a few, like I said, cautiously, because I'm hoping it'll be done within like 1 or 2 more months, but I don't want to really push that because I don't know if I'll actually be able to deliver on that deadline. I've never edited a book before. I've never had a book cover made. I don't know how long some of those processes take. So I'm optimistic that I could do it in a couple of months, but I'm going to say a few more just to give me a wider cushion. So that's something that I want to get done. And when it gets into the talking to editors book covers phase, there's less that I have to do. It'll be more emailing and corresponding and things like that and waiting for them to do it or for them to send me something to approve, etc. and so on. So once it gets done with the rewrites, then I've got some other projects. I have a couple of web things now that I need to work on. But I'm hoping that at some point I can get back into finalizing stuff like Dog Squad and things. I did actually spend some time working on that when I had first gotten my computer up and running but wasn't ready to record. It was what I used to test Space Engineers to see how it ran and, you know, tweak settings and things. And I did actually get one of the ships mostly built. I think I have the engine room that needs to be built. And stuff like that. And I thought about actually, you know, I've done so much with the Inspiration series that I've seen a lot of very, very well done ship builds and stuff. And so I had thought about reaching out to a couple of builders and seeing if they would be interested in building the ships. I honestly didn't do that because I know that Dog Squad is a small project. It's like a YouTube machinima. It's not something like, you know, Marvel's Avengers or something like that. But, you know, there is the element of if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right. And I don't like the idea of asking someone to design something that then I plan on using as an iconic, like that's going to be identified as X character's ship or something. And I'm not in a position where I can really pay an animator or a designer or something like that. So I would feel kind of bad about asking someone to do something for basically nothing other than just giving them credit for they designed the ship or something. So that's part of why I didn't reach out for it and I was doing it all myself. Eventually, at some point, I may do that because eventually, I've briefly touched on it before in the back of my head. I definitely want to do eventually move Dog Squad out of a machinima environment and more go to a custom 3D animated environment. Mainly because in the long run, if we wanted to do video games or something based on, because that's something that Caden and I have talked about, is doing, that's actually one of the things we wanted to do our first foray? Is that how you're supposed to use that? Foray? I don't know, our first outing into game development, which has always been a goal of ours to do, is be game developers. And we've always talked about starting with a Dog Squad game, because Dog Squad started as our experiment series. It was basically a one that it was so silly we didn't really care if it did well and if there was continuity errors or if there was, you know, things like that. So it was something that just let us go out and try things and experiment and, you know, play around with stuff and be creative. And so, you know, things like thinking of going into games and things that where it becomes our full own property, essentially. Like right now, I don't think I would be able to package the machinima on Blu-ray and sell it like Red vs. Blue did, because I haven't cleared that with Keen, and technically I'm still making something on their game. And so it's stuff like that, that it's not that they're like, you know, it's not like they've been hard to work with or anything like that. Actually, they've been very accommodating when I asked them about, you know, is it okay if I do this and stuff, and they were like, yeah, that's fine. So it's not really on there, and I just don't like having to worry about what other people have rights to, basically, when it comes to the legality of stuff. When it comes to, if I just made everything up, then I know I can sell it without anybody's approval. I don't have to worry about it. And so eventually what I'd like to do is actually get the series into a custom art style animated, where we've done 3D modeling and stuff like that, and probably a pseudo anime art style of, like, not necessarily super realistic proportions, and probably like a cell shaded type style. And so I've thought about doing something like that, and I would like to do that with the series eventually. And so that was kind of coming back to the rights thing. It was like I didn't really want to have anyone tied to, like, well, I have to get their approval to use that ship design. It's their ship on my series, because then once I get it out of a machinima environment, I'd still have people that I had to get approvals from and stuff. So, you know, I apologize if that was a bit long-winded and, you know, legal jargony, but that I'm hoping that kind of explains a bit why if you see in season 2, there's like, this is really cool, but that ship, man, that's just derpy looking, you know. Yes, it probably could have been done better, but it's kind of just, the story came from our minds and stuff, so it just seemed appropriate to build the ships and bases and stuff ourselves as well. In fact, I have thought about, it has been rattling around in this noggin of mine that eventually this planet of doing it on Earth wouldn't work for what I want to do it on, but I need to build a base for season 2. For mild spoilers, there's a base involved. I guess that's a spoiler for anyone who cares. So I have thought about, by the time I get to that stage, is possibly copying this base we're doing here. Since I'm already building it, why work twice as hard? So I'm thinking I'm just going to copy this base and, like, do maybe some different changes, some polishing and things, but the overall blueprint, and just paste it into the world environment that I need it to be in. And it might save me a lot of time from having to do it myself. I mean, do it myself with the... Never mind. You guys get it. I did it myself, but never mind. Anyway, so that's about the updates on the projects. My book's moving at a better pace than it's moved in a long time. I'm very optimistic that it'll be done a lot sooner than I was hoping. The video stuff will be back as usual. I still have some setting stuff to balance out, which I'm hoping you guys can help me out a little bit with, even if it's just to say, nope, it sounds fine, it's good, go with it. And yeah, that's I think gonna wrap us up. So I still ended up at 30 minutes, but whatever. At least I put the short version in front this time, so anybody that didn't care, they got the gist of it. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this announcement video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, specifically on quality, video quality, and audio quality, sound balancing, all that kind of stuff. Anything that stands out to you, whether it's, hey, this looks better, sounds better, whatever, or, ooh, you need to change that. You know, just basically anything that stands out to you as being noticeable. So that's going to do it for this announcement video. I will see you guys next in Elite Dangerous on Tuesday. I don't know when this episode's going up, so you might have actually seen Elite first. I have no idea. So take that last statement with a grain of salt from whatever you've seen on my channel feed. With that, we're going to wrap this up. Yeah, I will see you guys next time. Peace.